I just wanted to give a little bit of background about Stonewater, and there's a reason for this, which will become apparent in a moment. So Stonewater is a traditional housing association, and we operate across large parts of England. We were formed by way of a merger in 2015. And one of the objectives in 2015 was to actually downsize our office footprint by 60%, which we've achieved. It was also one of our objectives was to move as much as possible to a home working, remote working environment. So we'd already started this journey 4 or 5 years ago. And we've made a significant investment in our IT. So there'd be questions, I remember last year when our IT director was asking for a substantial sum of money for further infrastructure investment. And I remember saying, how much? Now, 24th of March 2020, I'm very pleased that we spent that money on our IT infrastructure investment. So we're a traditional RP, dispersed geographically, always had to work in a different sort of way because of our remoteness to many of our customers. Having said that, our core services, so our contact centre, our finance teams, our central services, were all pretty much office-based up until March of this year. So I want to share something with you, an admission which I'm embarrassed to make now actually, but on our risk register, which we spent lots of time looking at and put lots of intellectual effort into refining and making sure we covered things, we didn't have a pandemic on our register. We had loads on Brexit, loads on other things. It never entered our mind about a pandemic and the way the world would change in March of this year. So when we were locked down I think it was the 24th of March, we moved about 90% of our colleagues to home working within 24 hours. The 10% that didn't home work were people that worked in supported housing or retirement living. So we have a number of women's refuges. We have an LGBT safe space. We have a number of young persons foyers. So you can imagine having 50, 60 people in a foyer without any supervision. They would have had a good time, but would have had probably all sorts of difficulties. So we had to maintain an on-site presence in our supported housing and some of our retirement living. So those colleagues have continued to work during this whole period of time. Excluding those people, everybody else in Stonewater went to virtual working within 24 hours. So what was the short-term, mid-term and long-term objectives for us? Well, looking back, our short-term objective was probably survival. And, I make no bones about it. Every evening, I used to listen to what the government was saying and quite often have to then quickly change our policies or approach in response to government announcements. We've now moved away from that because being reactive has been not a good way to run a business, but B, wasn't a good way of delivering services and engaging with our colleagues. So we've moved away from that and we've taken a mid-term and long-term approach. The mid-term work that we did was that we wanted as a business, we felt we needed to review our vision, mission, customer offer and our values. Some of you might be thinking, why are you doing that in the middle of a pandemic? But if you're looking to see how you want to move forward as a business, you want to make sure that your vision and your mission, customer offer and your values are all what you need to move forward in the new way of working, in the new norm. So we did some work on that a couple of months ago, and we've actually, I'm pleased to say that with a few minor amendments, revisions, we think that all of those are fit for purpose and really good for us moving forward. So we then moved to the longer term. What's our longer term objectives? So our longer term objective is we're a housing association. We want people to have safe, secure homes. We want them to be well maintained. We want people to be able to live their lives in the way they want to live them. But of course, what's happened since the close down, people have changed how they expect services to be delivered, how they want to live their lives. So we've now moved to what I'm calling the 3 R's. We're reimagining our business. We're making sure our business is resilient so that we can look at things and challenges coming along. And on the reimagining, we're now looking at things like artificial intelligence, chatbots, augmented reality, etc. Because a lot of our services can now be delivered remotely. And we struggled for many years with, particularly in our assets side, getting good quality assets surveyors in parts of the south of England. We didn't have any problems recruiting in our Yorkshire part of the business. And now, lo and behold, because of technology, our surveyors in Yorkshire are able to look at photographs and videos emailed to them by customers and diagnose repairs and actually make sure that what needs to be done can be done quickly. We're now looking to move forward, particularly on the repair side of the business, of using augmented reality, so we can actually send people with the goggles, and then they'll have an expert at the end of the line asking them to look at certain things so we can do diagnosis. Because we did struggle with recruiting scarce resources in parts of the country. So we've really changed how we deliver our services. We're a big developing housing association, and a lot of our development people spend a lot of time going to site meetings. They've not been to a site meeting since March. We're now using drone footage of sites to see how progress is on site, having virtual meetings with the developer, with the house builder and the employer's agents, and that's working really well. Something we thought we would never be doing 7 months ago. Now we're doing it day in, day out. So are we closer? I think we are closer, actually, certainly with our colleagues. So I'll give you a couple of examples. We have a weekly managers briefing now for all managers within Stonewater, which quite often is probably about 80, 90 people. Pre-pandemic, we used to have two manager briefings a year, which meant that 80, 90 people had to drive to a central place somewhere. Some people would get there quickly, some people might take 2-3 hours, some people had to come down the day before. We now have a weekly managers meeting for 1 hour. People log in for an hour. We talk about what's going on, changes to policies, what the challenges are, have a Q&A session. People then log off and go back to work. That's saving us thousands of pounds in mileage costs, room bookings, etc. But also think of the many hours that's saving all of our managers. So instead of having a managers meeting every 6 months, they're having one once a week. We've done things like we have a monthly team talk for all of our colleagues. And that would have normally, pre-pandemic, meant all of our colleagues had to go into the nearest office to actually attend a session about what's going on in the business, what the challenges are, what are the things that are happening that we've wanted to share with colleagues. We now do that remotely. We have high levels of attendance, and it's actually, again, capped at an hour. We found our experience is an hour as long as people can really focus and keep attention, with no mileage costs, no room hire costs, etc., etc. And we're doing that monthly, and actually we think we've got better penetration of our messages and understanding to colleagues. We had organised in July of this year our annual company day, where all 800 colleagues got together in one location. Normally a racecourse, this year it was Cheltenham. That was cancelled, obviously. We saved about £100,000 in costs of the company day. That doesn't include all the travel costs, etc. We're having our virtual company day in November, which is costing a fraction of that. And we're confident we'll be able to have a day that's exciting and interesting for our colleagues, but also engaging with them. So I've talked about our colleagues. For our contractors, which are really important to us, we're now having weekly meetings with contractors. Quite often, a number of contractors on the same meeting. Again, that would have previously been a number of different meetings with people travelling to locations. So we're having far more contact with our contractors. Our customers are engaging with us virtually in ways that we didn't think were possible prior to lockdown. So we think that actually, we're closer to not only our colleagues, our customers, but also our key stakeholders like contractors, etc. The icing on the cake for me is we're in the process of organising our virtual Christmas lunch. Now, I'm not sure how that's going to look, but we always have a Christmas lunch on a certain day in December. The announcement or the headlines in the media today about bubbles of no more than 6 people in England actually helps us with that message. We'll all know on this call that why we talk about Christmas in September, but whatever you're organising, you have to organise it well in advance. So we're having our virtual Christmas lunch. I think we're sending people hampers or something, and they're going to be going into virtually with their teams to share, have a virtual lunch with them. Now, I thought that was quite, extraordinary when we started thinking about that a few weeks ago. I'm now begun to wonder with this 6 people bubble, we might be having a family virtual Christmas lunch this year. Some of my family might be quite keen about that. Some probably would be upset. But it's just a new way of thinking, and thinking, about how we can move forward. For us, the new norm isn't going back to offices. We are actually very much looking to further downsize our office portfolio. As part of our merger, we actually had the foresight now of moving to all of our offices except one small one is on leasehold. So as and when those leases have break clauses, we'll be giving up those leases because they're very expensive and have no real value. We're now focusing on collaboration space and how people can work together. So for me, there's no going back. This is a new way of working. There's lots of advantages. Lots of our colleagues are really happy and enjoy the new way of working. But let's not forget those people that struggle with it, people that house share, people that want to get out of the house for whatever reason. So we do, when we're back to a more safer environment, we do need to think as a business about how we allow colleagues to have collaboration space and have that social interaction that people need. I think I've used my 10 minutes, so I'll stop there.
Yeah, thanks, Nick. That's really great. Yeah, fantastic presentation and very thought-provoking, particularly the Christmas lunch ideas that are now whizzing through my head. Yeah, I'll be very interested to know how that goes, and we will have to get our thinking caps on about that as well. So without further delay, I will hand over to Sheila Grant, Chief Executive of the Housing Forum, to give her views on this subject.
Thank you very much, Mike, and good morning, everybody, and thank you